Hi, it's story time. I recently found out that I have cancer, uterine serous carcinoma, and this is how I was diagnosed. I was living my life as a digital nomad. I was in Mexico, and I knew it was time for me to come back to the States to have some medical care. So I came back in July, and at my first appointment, I was surprised to find out that I needed surgery. My doctor was suggesting that I have a hysterectomy and thinking that I might have cancer, that it might be endometrial cancer, and I'm certainly not downplaying endometrial cancer, but in its early stages, surgery is a treatment, surgery is a cure. So I thought worst case scenario, I might have to stay in the States a little bit longer than I had originally planned, maybe a month, and then I would head back to Mexico. So I had the surgery 2 days after my birthday in August and waited for the results. And I knew that the report would come in my online portal for my hospital. So, I checked it, nothing's there. My doctor said that the report might come in the Friday after surgery. I had surgery on a Monday, so he said it might come in on Friday. Well, it wasn't there on Friday. And then the following week, I checked until Friday evening. Friday evening, this was like a week and a half after surgery. I thought, oh, I haven't checked. So I checked, and there it was, the pathology report. I started reading, and at first it was talking about the lymph glands that had been removed and that they were fine. I thought, oh, good. But then I saw it. Serous carcinoma. Now, didn't know about the serous part, but I knew what carcinoma meant. And I kept reading, and it said high grade, and it said myometrial invasion, and it said lower uterine segment invasion. And I didn't know exactly what that meant, but I figured that was not good news. So I started looking up terms, talked to friends, formulated some questions because I had an appointment with my doctor to talk about the results. And so I'm glad that I had a chance to think about and talk about the diagnosis before I saw the doctor. For some people, it might work better to find out the diagnosis in the doctor's office and go from there. But for me, it gave me a chance to think. It gave me a chance to formulate questions. It gave me a chance to look up terms so I knew what we were talking about. And I found out that the standard course of treatment for my stage, I'm at an early stage because all the cancer that was found was within the uterus. And it was less than 50% of the muscle that surrounds the uterus. That's what the myometrium is. And it was not, it had not descended into the cervix, even though it was in the lower uterus that leads to the cervix. That standard treatment is chemotherapy. There are 2 chemotherapy medications given, Taxol and carboplatin. And then there's also radiation therapy. And so I have not begun treatment yet, but I still have time to get myself ready. So how do I view my diagnosis? For those who know me, They know that I am not an, oh my God, why me kind of person. So that's not how I respond to news. And I am a let's control the parts that we can control kind of person. So I spent the weekend after I read my diagnosis planning. And what I was planning was how can I continue bringing in income if I have to go through periods of time when I cannot work while I'm on chemotherapy and radiation. And I also, was doing some planning around my digital nomad life of, I don't see a need to end it, but it may be interrupted for a while, and doing some planning around that. And since I was digital nomading in Mexico, that's where all my things are. So I have to find a place to live in the States now. And I'm in the process of doing that. And I think I'll have that all settled in another day or so, hopefully. And the most important part of my planning process that weekend after I found out about my diagnosis was deciding what is and isn't important in this moment in time. So there were some things I had to let go, some projects that, I wanted to work on, but it would just be more important at this time to do other things and to focus on other things. And also during that weekend, I came up with a framework of how I want to look at cancer. And how I want to look at it is, this is an opportunity for me to hone my skills in self-care. That the parts of cancer, in my understanding right now, that I can control are the ways that I take care of myself, and the ways that I take care of myself with the knowledge that it decreases the chance of recurrence. Because every time cancer recurs, it can become harder to address. And part of what allows me to think of cancer in this way, I think, is because I've lived with a chronic illness for many, many years already. I live with multiple sclerosis, and I have seen the gamut of no visible disability to being severely disabled, and all that in between. So I've had many years to develop a framework of how I navigate the medical system and how I think about illness and disability. And so I try to be careful with my language around it. I don't necessarily see my diagnosis as something bad, and that reading that I have serous carcinoma as bad news. It is news. It is that. But I don't see it as something necessarily bad. It is certainly something that has to be addressed. And I am in the process of doing that, both medically and in my physical life of, where am I going to live? What kind of environment do I need to be in to be able to concentrate on healing? What are the things, the habits and rituals that I want to take on that I may not have in my life right now? What are the things that I need to let go of? So Those are the things that I can control. And those are the things that I will be focusing on.